Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're going to be unpacking a seriously fascinating philosophical text by an author named Xu Feng, titled Life is But an Illusion. Now this text offers a deeply provocative lens through which to view human existence, all of our daily anxieties, and the ultimate pursuit of happiness. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down its liberating concepts step by step. Our goal here isn't to tell you what to believe, right? Instead, we're just going to impartially explore the structured arguments presented in this source material, giving you a crystal clear understanding of a mindset that literally claims to offer ultimate freedom. Let's get into it.
So to kick things off, I want you to sit with a pretty radical question for a second. What if everything you worry about is just a dream? Seriously, think about the stress of your daily life, your career, your relationships, your status. The text we're examining today poses this wild thought experiment. Think about when you're in the middle of a nightmare at night. You might feel profound anxiety, terror, or sadness. But the exact moment you wake up, that entire world, no matter how intense or convoluted it felt, just vanishes. You instantly stop caring about it. Well, the author asks us to apply that exact same logic to our waking lives. This sets the emotional stakes for the entire philosophy we're about to explore.
All right, moving into Section 1. What is an illusion? Defining the temporary? According to the text, an illusion isn't just, a magic trick or a hallucination. The definition is actually way broader, and it hinges entirely on time. The author defines illusions as phenomena that arise quickly, hang around for a brief bit, and then disappear equally quickly. Brevity and inevitable disappearance are absolutely crucial criteria here. Basically, if something exists for a limited time and then completely vanishes from reality, the text categorizes it, for sure, as an illusion.
And what's really interesting is how the author takes this ancient-sounding mystical definition and applies it to very modern, relatable things. Sure, traditional examples like mirages and soap bubbles make perfect sense, but the text explicitly loops in modern phenomena, computer games, movies, TV shows, and the millions of photos we doom scroll through on the internet. Even biological entities, like masses of cells, microbes, and fungi, are categorized this exact same way. Because they all just flash into existence and eventually disappear entirely, they fit the strict criteria of an illusion perfectly.
Which brings us to Section 2, Life as a Dream, the 100-year fantasy.
The author asks this brutally honest, rhetorical question here. Who remembers their grandparents' grandparents? For almost all of us, those memories are completely blurred or just entirely forgotten, right? The text uses this to highlight a really sobering point. 100 years from now, who is going to remember us? We totally take for granted that we are incredibly important in the present moment, but the source argues this is a complete illusion. Great historical figures have died. They all thought they were absolutely vital, yet the earth keeps turning, humans keep reproducing, and the footsteps of civilization just never stop marching forward.
And that leads to this really powerful logical deduction from the text. So, the author argues that a dream is an illusion because it only lasts a short time. But what if, just imagine, a person could dream continuously for 100 years? Would that make it reality? The text insists that no, of course it would still be a dream. Because the very second that person wakes up, boom, the century-long dream disappears. Therefore, the length of time doesn't change the fundamental nature of the phenomenon. Whether something lasts for a single night, 100 years, or until the Earth eventually vanishes into the infinite cosmos, if it ultimately disappears completely, it remains an illusion. And since human life eventually disappears completely, life itself is an illusion.
Let's shift to Section 3, the illusion of control, exploring why we suffer.
Okay, so if life is literally just a dream, why do we experience so much anxiety? Well, the author points directly to our false belief in control. The text uses this highly evocative metaphor, describing human beings as nothing more than a grain of sand in a sandstorm, or a single drop of water in the vast sea. The whole argument here is that nobody can control their own dreams, and similarly, nobody can control their own life. It's delusional, the text states, to think that if you do X, you are absolutely guaranteed outcome Y. You can't secure yourself against all risks. You literally can't avoid aging. As the author beautifully puts it, you can't wear shoes when you are supposed to be barefoot. Nothing can truly be controlled by anyone.
But because we falsely believe we do have control, we become absolutely terrified of losing things. The text details these specific worldly attachments that people fear losing the most: property, power and status, our reputation, and our lovers. But the philosophy argues that clinging to these is entirely unnecessary. In fact, the text lays down a pretty stark rule. What really belongs to you cannot escape you, and what isn't yours, well, you can't keep it anyway. since all of these things belong to a life that will eventually shatter and vanish in a moment, making yourself suffer over them is seen as this tragic waste of energy. And this brilliantly illustrates the text's stance on one of our absolute deepest attachments, romantic love. The author quotes, "Ask the mortal world what love is. It drives one mad to death." It asserts that affection and love tactics are actually life's most terrible, maddening traps. From the perspective of this philosophy, once the dream of life is over, everything is nothing. So getting all bogged down, heartbroken, or anxious over romantic entanglements, totally pointless. The text even humorously suggests it might just be better to live lightly as a dandy, rather than being completely consumed by heavy romantic drama.
Moving right along to Section 4, the Celestial Mindset. Waking up.
So if clinging to the illusion causes all this suffering, the remedy is changing our perspective. Notice the direct contrast the source makes between two ways of existing. The sleeping person represents how most of us live, totally befuddled in our dream worlds, constantly worried, obsessed with outcomes, anxious about the future, and just fearful of loss. But then you have the awake person, which the text refers to as a celestial being, who has seen through the illusion. Because they know none of it is ultimately real or permanent, they don't experience intense grief over losses, nor do they attach to intense manic highs. Instead, their baseline state is just pleasant, relaxed, and utterly calm. It's like they're watching a play, but they never forget they're just sitting in a theater.
Now, I do need to mention one major philosophical caveat the source provides regarding what is real. According to the author, within the universe, absolutely everything is an illusion except for the greatest creator. All forms of life are just different stages of illusions, and the text goes incredibly far with this. It states that even if you reach beautifully long-lasting heavenly realms, places the author calls the thousand-year world or the celestial islands continent, those are still illusions. The only difference is that those higher-level illusions are much more splendid and they last way longer, but they are still, at the end of the day, dreams.
All right, final section. Section 5, How to Live Now. Rules for the Illusion.
Knowing all of this, what are the actual rules for navigating this illusion day to day? The author walks us through highly specific and frankly very liberating instructions for navigating life's script. Step 1 is straightforward. Whatever makes you happy, joyful, free, and blessed, just do it. Go play and have fun. Step 2 is incredibly practical. If something bothers you but you absolutely have to do it to survive, don't invest your soul into it. Just make a perfunctory effort. Do the bare minimum to get by without stressing yourself out. And step 3, if something is no fun and isn't strictly necessary, say goodbye to it. In fact, the text enthusiastically recommends literally never seeing those unfun things again. It's basically a mandate to stop forcing yourself to do things you hate just for the sake of a temporary, fake reputation.
Which brings us to the end of today's explainer, and I want to leave you with a final thought that really summarizes the profound relief found in this source material. If you truly internalize the idea that your failures, your embarrassments, and your anxieties are all part of a temporary dream that's eventually going to vanish completely, what will you choose to focus on? Are you going to continue to fight the script and stress over things you can't control? Or if life is just a dream, what will you choose to dream about today? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating perspective with me. Until next time, keep questioning and keep learning.